Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session on Microsoft 365 Copilot Advantages. I hope you're having a great Ignite so far. Yes? Wonderful. So I'm Seth Patton. I'm the General Manager for Microsoft 365 Copilot Product Marketing. Joining me today is Rob Howard. Rob's the Vice President of Product Management for the Microsoft 365 platform. So in this session, we are going to cover customer needs and challenges. We're going to show how Microsoft 365 Copilot uniquely addresses those needs. And then we're going to spend some time covering resources and guidance to help you be successful. Let's dive in. So from our global research, we know that AI is already being used in the workplace. In fact, 3 out of 4 knowledge workers are already using AI at work. And that rate has doubled in just the last 6 months as employees see how AI can be used to help them do tasks more quickly, save time, and get ahead in their jobs. Our study also showed that 78% of those knowledge workers are actually bringing their own AI tools to work. We refer to this as BYOAI, or Bring Your Own AI. It means they're not using company-sanctioned tools, which can introduce inefficiencies and also potential data security threats. In addition, while 80% or nearly 80% of business leaders believe that AI is a strategic imperative, a full 60% of businesses don't yet have a vision or a plan to implement AI. And 59% said that they are struggling with quantifying the value of AI to justify the investment. We're at that interesting inflection point with any technology disruption from experimentation to achieving business value. Meanwhile, their competitors are forging forward, and many of them are finding ways to apply AI to transform business processes, to empower their employees, and to automate business processes. It's hard to believe it's only been a year since Microsoft 365 Copilot has become generally available, and a lot has changed in that time, with all kinds of AI vendors making all kinds of announcements. And it's increasingly hard to know what's real and who to trust. Our journey has been guided by our amazing customers. Our customers, along with product telemetry, help provide this incredible feedback loop, which we've used to continuously improve the product. In fact, over 1,000 customers have given us direct feedback, and we have released 300 new features. Based on this feedback, Microsoft 365 Copilot has evolved a lot. You've probably noticed that it started out as an AI assistant and really has now become a comprehensive solution for AI transformation. Like most AI tools, Copilot builds on foundational models, or LLMs, and we utilize the latest models. But increasingly, those LLMs are becoming more commoditized, and where the real value exists is at the orchestration layer, at the user experience layer, and the ability to customize the tool to meet your unique needs. For Microsoft 365 Copilot, the user experience layer starts with BizChat, which provides a single chat interface that spans both web knowledge and knowledge from your organization. So you can think of it as a secure chat GPT that's connected to your work data. And Copilot goes beyond chat with things like Copilot Pages, Copilot Actions, and it's integrated into the Microsoft 365 apps like Outlook, Word, and Teams. And then there's Copilot Studio, which can be used to customize Copilot and create agents to automate tasks and business processes. Importantly, we also provide a comprehensive set of resources and tools to help with adoption and measurement, which we'll go through in more detail. And finally, all of this is safeguarded by Microsoft's commitment to security, privacy, and compliance, which Rob will cover in detail. Now, AI transformation, as we all know, is not just about technology. It's about your organization's ability to apply technology to achieve business outcomes. And that includes both personal productivity, things like saving time and increasing efficiencies, but also applying AI to achieve measurable business outcomes like increasing revenue, managing costs, and improving the employee experience. Now, to achieve these benefits, Copilot both streamlines universal tasks for all employees, so things like finding information in experts, helping you draft emails and documents, as well as improving meetings. But importantly, Copilot can also be tailored to meet the needs of specific functions and roles in your organization. Here's a few examples of that. So Finastra's marketing team is now creating assets in 7 weeks that used to take 7 months. And Lumen's sales organization connected Copilot to Salesforce and ServiceNow, and their customer-facing employees saved 10 hours per week and utilized that time to now increase outbound calls by 40%. And that's resulted in an estimated $50 million in revenue gains. Honeywell employees are saving 92 minutes per week, and if you add that up, that's 74 hours per year. And Oxford University Hospital staff are saving 4 hours per week on administrative staff, which means their clinicians can spend more time with patients. And many more examples that you'll see here and throughout Ignite. So we know there are many AI solutions out there, and thank you for those of you who have already chosen Copilot as your AI solution. For those of you who are considering other solutions, these are the 6 advantages that make Microsoft 365 Copilot unique, and we're going to now go through each one. First is designed for work. Many AI solutions are designed for more personal or consumer use cases, whereas Microsoft 365 Copilot is designed for work. And that starts with understanding your work context so that actions and responses are more relevant and more personalized. Microsoft Graph is what provides this context. So the graph uses data from trillions of interactions every month to understand the relationship between people and emails and documents and meetings and other work patterns. Now, importantly, your graph data in your tenant stays within the Microsoft 365 service boundary. And because Microsoft 365 Copilot is grounded in that Microsoft Graph data, it enhances the relevance of the responses and actions over just relying on the underlying LLM. Another good example of design for work is Business Chat. So BizChat provides a central hub that brings together all of your apps, your data, and it also provides the place where users can create and discover agents. Now, BizChat has just become the most used endpoint for Copilot in any of the endpoints, including Microsoft Teams. One of the exciting features we recently added to BizChat is Copilot Pages. So Copilot Pages is really a new AI artifact, like a Word document or a presentation, but for the AI era. Provides a dynamic, persistent canvas that's really designed for that multiplayer AI collaboration. So you collaborating with Copilot and other humans together. And let's go ahead now and take a look at BizChat and Copilot Pages in action.
Pages is a dynamic, persistent canvas designed for multiplayer AI collaboration. Let's say you work for an EV charging company and there's a new business opportunity with LAX Airport. You start by asking Copilot to do some research on the web. You want some basic information, like the number of daily passengers and information on the number of parking spaces with EV chargers. Copilot is grounded in the web, so it can reason over the entire internet and quickly pull the relevant information. In just seconds, you have a great start with answers to your questions. You want to turn this simple response into a page. Here, you can keep working on your own, with colleagues, or with Copilot. You can share a page just like you'd share a link to a Word doc. You want to share what you've got so far, and ask your colleagues to help with a little more research, so you tag them. And once you do, everyone can immediately start to contribute. Pages are built exactly for this type of work. While your colleagues pull in the latest industry news, you continue to do more research to build out the business case. Copilot provides citations along the way, so you can check its work before adding it to the page. Now let's pivot from web to work, so we can take advantage of all your work data. You need to get started on a plan for your proposal, but you don't want to reinvent the wheel. So you ask Copilot to reference a previous plan to give you a head start on this one. Copilot pulls in the deliverables, work back schedule, and owners, and formats it all as a table in your page. Now you're ready to collaborate with your colleagues on the plan. Here you see coworkers updating the work back schedule and assigning owners. Now let's get to work on the proposal outline. As a first step, you need to understand what the customer is looking for. Your coworker had an introductory meeting with the customer last week. So from right here in Pages, they ask Copilot to reference the recording of that meeting and insert a bulleted list of the requirements. In seconds, Copilot was able to synthesize the discussion and give your team the key takeaways. Now that you know what it's going to take to win the business, you're ready to start building the proposal. Last year, you landed a similar deal, so you want to reuse that great work. You ask Copilot to use that proposal as a starting point and update it to include the new customer requirements. With one last click, Copilot pulls it all together for you. This truly is a new pattern of work, bringing together content from the web and work in a dynamic, persistent canvas designed for human to AI collaboration.
All right, let me see a quick show of hands. How many people are using BizChat already today? Hands up, hands up. And then how many people have started using the new Copilot Pages? Okay, so a good number of you. That's great. All right, that was the first advantage, designed for work. Now on to the second advantage, integrated in the tools people use every day. Now, our strategy from day one has been to really integrate Copilot in the flow of work across all of the Microsoft 365 apps. And we are just making improvements all the time, every month, every day. Here's a few that I just want to share with you. So for Copilot in Excel, we recently added support for structured table or structured content, structured data, tables, and conditional formatting. We've also added support for Python, which is one of the world's most popular programming languages. I heard a couple of whoos in there. And today, we actually announced a new feature called Templates with Copilot in Excel, which allows you to get started quickly by just telling Copilot what kind of spreadsheet you want to create. And then for Copilot in PowerPoint, we currently are rolling out Narrative Builder, which is a feature that helps guide you through the process of creating a presentation, and Brand Manager, which we're getting lots of positive feedback on, that connects you to your company's brand library, so you can really choose those approved images. And today we announced that now Copilot can translate a presentation into 40 different languages. Pretty cool. One of my favorite new features is Prioritize My Inbox, which helps you find the most important emails, and that's going to be rolling out here towards the end of the year. And we also announced a couple of new features for Copilot to be able to help you prepare meeting agendas, as well as schedule one-on-one meetings. For Copilot in Word, it now is able to add work data. So add data directly from documents, from emails, and other work data directly into your Word document. Copilot in Teams recently added the ability to support information in the meeting chats, as well as the meeting transcripts in its responses and meeting recaps. And today we announced that it's also going to include what's included in being shared in the meeting. So not only does it include what's said in the meeting, but also what it sees in the meeting through screen sharing. Pretty powerful. And then Copilot in OneDrive now allows you to reason over all of your files and even compare two documents without even opening the files. All right, so that's the first two advantages. Now for the third advantage, I'm going to invite up Rob.
Thanks, Seth. Apparently the hardest part is over, sitting down and standing up again without knocking my mic box off. So we're good so far. So far, we've seen a bunch of great examples of Microsoft 365 Copilot acting as your intelligent assistant across a broad range of common productivity tasks. Next, we're going to talk about how you can tailor Copilot to the needs of your industry, your organization, your department, your role by adding agents. Copilot already understands your work data in Microsoft 365 and the context of your work in tools across the Microsoft 365 suite. But a lot of factors that make an organization unique are in the key business processes that make it run, and now Copilot loves business process. In our user research, we've identified a wide range of common business processes across enterprise functions that can benefit from generative AI, from customer service support assignment and sales lead generation to quote to cash in finance or legal contracting. And of course, every organization has their unique business processes that are a key part of how they stand out in the market. But it's not just a matter of handing every user a Copilot and expecting business value magic to happen. It really requires that in every function, you've got key KPIs, the ones that your business leaders care about. For example, your customer service team almost certainly looks at time to resolution. Your sales team probably tracks revenue per lead. Your marketing team probably tracks lead conversion rate. To realize business value, you've got to intentionally identify specific business processes and functions where AI can have the biggest impact and transform that process with Copilot and now agents. And that's because Microsoft 365 Copilot is not a singular experience. As Satya talked about this morning, it truly is the UI for AI. And that starts with people and human ingenuity, and the notion that just like every employee has a smartphone today, we envision every employee having a Copilot, their trusted AI assistant that understands them and their work context and provides a consistent user experience for those employees to experience AI throughout Microsoft 365. And agents augment Copilot by adding skills and knowledge and creating a focused experience that's tailored to each business process. And those agents can be connected to Copilot, or they can run on their own, operating autonomously on behalf of a person, a team, or a function. Put simply, every person will have a Copilot, and every business process will have an agent. And across Microsoft 365, Copilot Studio, and agents, you have governance and controls for data protection, agent management, and the ability to measure the outcomes in business value of the work that you do. Collectively, we call this the Copilot control system. And then there's Copilot Studio, your no and low code tool that provides end-to-end lifecycle for designing, enhancing, and managing agents in a single pane of glass. Let's take a look at how one of our customers, McKinsey, has already benefited from the power of agents in Copilot and Copilot Studio. Say a prospective McKinsey client sends an email regarding an engagement. Pardon me. The agent is designed so that as soon as the email is received, it gets to work extracting the relevant details. Get my clicks coordinated, sorry. The agent is designed so that as soon as the email is received, it gets to work extracting the relevant details. It then follows a series of steps. It verifies previous engagements with the customer, validates the industry sector, summarizes the client needs, and identifies the appropriate McKinsey expert to meet with the client. It then writes and sends an email to the selected expert with the relevant client details. And what you're seeing here end to end is the agent working through the situation on its own to come to a resolution. It's been given operational guidelines in Copilot Studio, and it can navigate and act within those guardrails to get the job done. Let's take a look behind the scenes to see how the agent was created. It starts here in Copilot Studio with simple instructions that outline the job it needs to perform. In this case, the agent's tasked with fielding all incoming engagement requests for McKinsey clients. That means it monitors inbound requests, it identifies the right McKinsey partner to meet with the customer, and it sends an email to finalize the details. Now notice that all of this is just simple natural language that the agent creator used to outline the process. And the agent will do the work to map this to the triggers, the actions, and knowledge that you give it in Copilot Studio in these next steps. Here you see the agent's clear triggers, which allow it to work autonomously. In this case, it's watching for triggers 24/7, and it's looking for email to be sent to a specific address. But it could also be triggered by events from a wide range of sources, including line of business applications outside of Microsoft 365. The agent's also trained to leverage a knowledge base, enabling it to tap into both your productivity data, leveraging the Microsoft Graph, and your line of business systems across knowledge sources like SAP, ServiceNow, and Fabric. Finally, the agent has clearly defined actions it can take to get work done. And you can add new actions from over 1,500 data connectors. Based on the specifics of each incoming request and the natural language instructions that we saw at the start, the agent identifies and executes the most appropriate next action for the situation. If you want to see what the agent's working on, you can go to the Activity tab. You just saw how the agent managed one engagement, but this agent's actively managing dozens of engagements at the same time from many different clients. You can see the performance at the top or delve deeper in the Analytics tab. And this agent also knows when it needs to escalate to a human. Let's take a look at one of those. So you can see the steps that the agent already completed, but then at the bottom, it got stuck. Let's dig deeper to see what happened. It looks like it couldn't find the partner, as they no longer work at the company. This triggered a flow where the agent needed to escalate to a human. Let's jump over to BizChat, where we can see the notification from the agent. Copilot presents all the relevant information to the manager to verify, and then the manager manually reassigns the engagement to someone else so that the agent can continue its work, processing the final details, and ultimately sending an email to the right people. Now, that was just one example of an agent being piloted by McKinsey & Company. Soon, we anticipate every organization will have a constellation of agents that support individual employees, teams, and functions to orchestrate business processes. You'll build these agents in tools like Copilot Studio, and you'll interact with them in Copilot. All right, Advantage 4. Let's talk about how Copilot can connect to your business data to act as an organizing layer across all of your company's information. We've already talked quite a bit about how Copilot is grounded in your productivity data through the Microsoft Graph. Data in the graph is automatically populated when you're using Microsoft 365 tools across the suite, and that data is used across Microsoft 365 experiences like Microsoft Search, Context IQ, the Microsoft 365 app, and of course, Microsoft 365 Copilot. Connectors bring data from systems outside of Microsoft 365 into that same graph so that it can be used in those same experiences. And Copilot's semantic understanding of the data in the Microsoft Graph through the Copilot control system allows it to serve as an organizing layer for users across all of your enterprise data. Let's take a look at the example of Daniela, a pharmaceutical marketing and strategy manager who's responsible for positioning and promoting pharmaceutical products in the market. Here we'll see her use graph connectors created in partnership with Veeva and CB Insights, together with Copilot and Copilot Pages, to research and strategize a marketing campaign for a new heart drug. First, Daniela needs to stay up to date on market trends and competitive dynamics. Because her company has set up the CB Insights graph connector, Daniela can tap into this market research with a simple natural language request. She gets back rich information about market dynamics, and it's cited with the sources from CB Insights. And she can save this information into a new Copilot page where she's starting her research. Next, Daniela wants to gather some intelligence about a competitor, in this case, the notorious Contoso Pharma. Copilot will later help Daniela use data from CB Insights to hone in on key differentiators and develop a strategy for her own product. With that market and competitive context in place, Daniela wants to accurately pull in information from her own company's latest research studies and trial data. And with another simple request, she taps into her company's information stored and managed in Veeva Vault. Since Daniela works in marketing, a significant part of her role involves creating new content from approved digital assets. And with Copilot, she can effortlessly search through tens of thousands of materials stored in Veeva Vault to find the perfect promotional material for her campaigns. Copilot not only saves her time here, but also helps her comply with her company's policies and security protocols. Daniela also uses Veeva Vault to review past claims used in the American College of Cardiology materials, so she has past performance insights into which messages resonated with most target audiences that she can use to drive better outcomes for future campaigns. Now, finally, with all of that context, based on all the information that she's pulled together about the pharmaceutical market, competitive insights, and her company's new heart product, Daniela can use Copilot to summarize insights, extract key points, and generate a draft output in just the structure that she wants. We just saw how connectors like CB Insights and Veeva can help organize your company's enterprise data so your employees can do their best work. With the upcoming graph connectors for Veeva Quality and Veeva Regulatory, Copilot will go even further, helping users to create, approve, review, and summarize companies' data in those systems as well. And we've got dozens of graph connectors already in market. Together with our partners, we're building more every month, and these are just some of the recent additions to the ecosystem. We're also listening to your feedback about friction in licensing and setup of connectors. And we've removed licensing requirements for M365 and O365 tenants along with add-on pricing. So now all tenants get an index of 50 million external items. And remember that there's no requirement for users to do any work to set this up. And for admins, to make this easier, we've introduced new quick setup experiences in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center for many of these connectors, and many more are coming before the end of the calendar year. All right, on to Advantage 5. Microsoft runs on trust. We are committed to security, privacy, and compliance across everything we do, and AI is absolutely no exception. Early on, we made the decision to differentiate Copilot as the most secure and most trusted AI solution in the market. In security, we started by, of course, ensuring that Copilot honors your existing permissions, your labels, your data loss prevention policies, and we're delivering new tools for content governance to address concerns like oversharing. In compliance, we're providing new ways for you to ramp up your data preparedness for AI, like restricted SharePoint search and data governance reports. And Purview provides new tools to protect and investigate Copilot usage that's out of compliance with your Copilot policies. And as you may have heard earlier today, we're now including SharePoint Advanced Management in the Microsoft 365 Copilot license so that every Copilot customer can take advantage of SharePoint Advanced Management controls to accelerate deployments and automate security compliance and oversight at scale. In privacy, your data is your data. You own it and you control it, and that includes its location. And your data isn't used to train any foundation AI models that are used by others. Our efforts in responsible AI focus on accountability, transparency, fairness, reliability, and safety. And we're continuously innovating to map threats, to map risks and threats associated with generative AI. And throughout Microsoft 365 Copilot, we provide industry-leading customer copyright protection. Let's quickly talk about just a couple of the announcements in the security and compliance space. Purview is launching a public preview of their data security posture management solution. This will help customers discover and address data security risks like oversharing. It'll help protect sensitive content with new controls that govern Copilot processing of data based on both labels and SharePoint site policies. and it'll help govern employee interactions with Copilot that use your own organization's compliance policies. And last, with a public preview of new controls in Purview DLP for Microsoft 365 Copilot, you now have more granular policy targeting for Copilot processing restrictions. And you have more flexibility in choosing which sensitivity labels do and do not allow Copilot processing. We look forward to your feedback here at Ignite about these and other ways we can help you manage the security and compliance of your data. There's a session focused specifically on security and compliance controls in Microsoft 365 Copilot at 4 o'clock this afternoon if you want to learn more. Seth, back to you.
All right, thanks, Rob. Okay, I guess we are on to the sixth advantage, which is focused on, let's see, it looks like these are a little bit out of order, but that's okay, we'll be fine. Sixth advantage is all about adoption and measurement. And we all know that to achieve value from AI takes more than technology. It really does require your leaders and your people to be ready. It requires the right communications, the right training, and the right measurement in order to continuously improve. And to support this, we've developed a robust set of tools and resources really based on our customer best practices as well as our own AI transformation at Microsoft. And the first set that I wanted to fill you in on is the communication skilling and measurement tools powered by Microsoft Viva. So for example, in communications, you can use Viva Engage for employee communications related to the campaign or the rollout of Copilot. It also allows you to create communities of practice where you can have champions helping to support their various groups and functions. The Copilot Academy has curated learning courses for Copilot along with built-in learning paths. And then Copilot Analytics is a set of reporting and insights that help you both measure the adoption, so understand what usage is happening, but also understand the impact of Copilot on business outcomes like productivity and business metrics. Now, these are all very powerful tools, and we heard feedback from customers that you didn't want to have to pay extra for these. So we did announce today as well that Viva Insights and all of these capabilities are included now with your Microsoft 365 Copilot license. Let's drill a little bit further into Copilot Analytics. So earlier this year, we released the Copilot Dashboard, which is really an out-of-the-box experience to be able to understand usage, plan for adoption, and then understand the impact on productivity. But now you can go beyond the dashboard with advanced analytics from Viva Insights, which allows you to look at different cohorts of users and compare them, users who do have Copilot, users who don't have Copilot, and drill down into specific functions and departments. And today we're announcing the new Copilot Business Impact Report, which allows you to take a look at the Copilot usage and the correlation between that and specific KPIs that Rob talked about earlier, so things like sales metrics and service metrics. So we're really excited. There is no other AI vendor has these types of capabilities, and we're excited that we're bringing this into the Copilot license as well. To further support customers, we have developed what's called the Copilot Success Kit. How many of you are familiar with the Copilot Success Kit? Okay, this is really great. It has a whole set of tools and resources from an implementation summary guide for business and IT leaders to help prepare for adoption and rollout. It has a user enablement guide with great tips and even email templates and things that you can use, IT leaders can use to send to employees. It has the Copilot Scenario Library, which is maybe my favorite, which goes through all of sample business processes by function and maps how Copilot can help automate each of those processes with examples. And then the Copilot Prompt Gallery, which is you may have seen as the Copilot Lab, has now been rebranded Copilot Prompt Gallery because we are bringing it into the product and integrated into surfaces like BizChat. So I encourage you to check out all of these resources at the Copilot Adoption Hub. All right, so in closing, let's recap the 6 advantages. So Microsoft 365 Copilot is different because it's designed for work. It's integrated into the tools that people use every day. It's customizable with agents. It has the enterprise-grade security, privacy, and compliance. And it has robust tools for adoption and measurement. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we are committed to continuing to listen to your feedback in order to make Copilot meet your needs and make it better every day. And to learn more, I really encourage you to check out our Copilot booth. There's going to be a number of us down there throughout Ignite, as well as these sessions, which we have listed here that are really focused and relevant to Microsoft 365 Copilot and the 6 advantages, including the 4 o'clock session that Rob talked about. And with that, I do want to thank you for attending this session, and please give us your feedback. Very much appreciate it. We'll be up afterwards. If there are people with questions, feel free to come up and talk to us.